Hello, and welcome to the Social Psychic Radio Show featuring Jason Zook. In uncertain times, we must change our focus and priorities. This show will highlight social justice issues with the goal of expanding minds and increasing unity, love, and mutual respect for ourselves and our planet. We support the Black Lives Matter movement. Our show aspires to promote social spirituality, which simply means that by coming together, we can solve any of our problems, including the goal of bringing an end to all forms of hate, discrimination, bias, or oppression. We must protect our environment, reform our criminal justice system, and protect every citizen from police brutality. When we come together, it becomes possible to bridge the gaps that plague our society and divide us from within. We the people means everyone.
Hello and welcome to the Social Psychic Radio Show. This is Jason Zook. It's a great pleasure that I have the opportunity of presenting special guest Claudia Monacelli. Claudia is a university professor and interpreter. She has an amazing background, and I'm so excited to have her on today, including coming from Italy, emigrating to the United States, and passing through Ellis Island. That's amazing to me. I can't wait to talk about that. More importantly, though, I'm inviting Claudia onto the show because she shares something very similar to myself. My audience knows me as a lawyer, a podcaster, and an attorney. And one of the things I like to do with this show is to show the general public that you can have a professional training, you can work as a professor, you could be a doctor, you could be a lawyer, and you can also be very spiritual. And that's what I'm very excited about having Claudia on today. She's also a psychic medium, a medical intuitive, an author, a podcaster. I could just tell you there's tons of talent here. And more important than the talent is the person. And I'm so excited to welcome Claudia onto the show so we can discuss her background, experience, as well as her own spiritual journey. Welcome to the show, Claudia.
Thank you, Jason. It's a pleasure to be here. With that buildup, I hope your audience is not let down with that big introduction.
They're not going to be let down at all. I think everything we're about to get into is going to be very enjoyable for them as well as for me.
Good. I'm having a good time already just listening to you.
So I alluded a little bit. I guess I teased during the intro. I want to ask you, so you're currently in Rome, Italy?
Yes, I'm located in Rome. That's where I do most of my work in Rome. My family's in Tuscany, so I move back and forth. Once a month, I go to Tuscany, see, the family, and then come back to Rome. But my base is in Rome. I mean, I get out of my house. I walk 10 minutes. I'm at the Colosseum.
I'm so jealous.
I know.
I'm so jealous. I already told you before we start our interview, we also noticed some synchronicities with each other.
Yes.
I'd like to share that with our audience because I always point out synchronicities when I can. And one of those synchronicities is that you lived very close to where I grew up in New Jersey. I'm from Lodi, New Jersey.
Yes.
And you grew up from where in Jersey?
In Paterson, New Jersey, and in Totowa, New Jersey.
And then I told you that my mom was a teacher in Paterson for 27 years.
Can you imagine that?
I love to bring up synchronicities because for me, they're so important. And I think they're breadcrumbs. The universe is breadcrumbs to show people a lot of interesting aspects of living, right?
Yeah,
other than just the 3D world we live in.
Yeah. One thing that you mentioned in the introduction, and it just struck a chord with me. You said she's a psychic medium and she's also therefore also spiritual. And I thought to myself, do they go together really? Can a psychic medium, being a medium, we know what a medium is and what they do, right? And we get a bad name from everyone else, but
correct.
We channel spirits that have passed, right? And would we say that we are spiritual because of that, because we delve in that spiritual world? Is that
that's a great question. Let's talk about this for a minute because I love that idea. This is my take on it. We can only go based off our personal experiences and our interaction with others.
You let me know what you think.
Tell me what you think of this. I would say that because we delve into the afterlife and we help connect people to their deceased loved ones, and because we're perceptive, For example, if you can look at somebody and help them with their medical problems, even though you're not a trained doctor, but you can give them some ideas to go see this specialist or to, pay a little extra attention to your whatever. I think you're very enlightened like myself to know that when I think of spirituality, I think of somebody who is able to look at the larger trends of the universe and see these trends and help others with them.
Oh,
and
give
so
me
for
an
me,
example. Give me an example. I've never thought about it that way.
Yeah, I love this. So let's say you and I are sitting on an airplane and we don't know each other, right? Nice to meet you, Claudia. I'm Jason. I'm from New Jersey originally, but I live in Tampa, Florida.
I bet. From
Lodi. We'll talk about Lodi. And we're sitting there talking on the plane, and I start picking up feeling that you have some intuitive abilities, because I can usually do that. And let's say we start talking and we start talking about our purpose in life. What do you think your answer would be like when I talk about and say, what would our purpose in life be? Because I have an idea what my answer would be. What do you think yours would be?
Well, I'm doing it right now. I mean, I work with soul therapy. So I know, let's say I've done it on myself as well.
And work with what?
Soul therapy. Therapy.
You get that at Walmart? I'm just asking, do you go to the Walmart in Italy if they have one and pick it up and check it out and buy it? I'm being facetious.
I know.
You know why? Because you're doing spiritual work all the time.
Yes.
Anything with the word soul in it.
Yeah, I know. And so let's say my life's purpose is oral communication and written communication. I get sick if I don't communicate.
I love
literally.
You're on the right path.
Yeah, that's right. But we're doing it, our purpose, or else we wouldn't be here, right?
You and I both right now.
Yeah, of course. This is an event. Very important event.
I have to say something.
On that plane. We're on that plane, remember?
Okay. We're on the plane and we're flying, right? And we start talking about the purpose of life. And as soon as you start talking about and you say the word soul, I'm going to be like, okay, you're spiritual.
What's that?
We delve in spirituality. It's just what we do. We're light workers. I mean, I don't mean to generalize, but I can tell looking at your background and seeing your information, you intrigue me deeply because I see parts of myself in your life. And having a mainstream role as a university professor and as a professionally trained interpreter.
And I bet that when you wake up, you always wake up smiling. Tell me if I'm
Well, there were some exceptions. During the pandemic, I had a hard time waking up and smiling.
Well, of course. But let's say 90% of the time, you're up and at 'em. Yeah, I could get to it. I know. Me too.
So I want to get into your background a little because I find it fascinating. So let's talk about this. You were born in Italy.
Yeah.
And then how did you get to the United States?
Okay. So my dad, it was post World War II. My dad had been a prisoner of war in India, and he was there for 7 years. He finally left and came back very shortly after, married my mom, and Italy was really in a mess. So having been, in prison, there was nothing that he was doing in Italy. And at the time, his father was in the United States building the railroads, because he was a specialist with these little tiny square stones. And then his younger brother went to the United States because he didn't want to go in the army service. So his brother went, and then he went, and he said, my mom said, you know what, we're all going, all or nobody. So we all went. And I was just born, and it was 6 months. I was 6 months old. And when we got on the boat, apparently we went from Palermo, from Sicily, we left. I remember. And my mother's a picture. I have a picture on my wall of my mom sitting there with me in my arm, in one arm, and a jug of beer. What do you call it? A jug? No, it's
mug.
A mug. There you go. A mug of beer, drinking, And so when we started the crossing, she was sick. She was really, really sick. And she was lying for it was 2-week trip. And when we got to the United States, she found out she was pregnant. And so my younger sister was very close to me. And so we got there, and, you can imagine the situation. There was my dad's aunt and a few of the people, a community of Italians in Paterson, New Jersey. I almost missed I just missed the title of Miss Roma when I was 18. Or else I would have had to put that on the list in my bio.
Your dad was a prisoner of war in India. Does that mean he was on the Italian side and what, got taken prisoner by the British?
By the English, yeah, by the British.
In Europe?
Yeah. It was in Europe, but
I'm a World War II buff. So when you brought that up, I'm like, wait a minute, that's an interesting thing. I've never heard anyone say they were imprisoned in India.
Libya, and, going the whole way. I mean, it was devastating. It was devastating. And he was one of the survivors because it was constantly walking there. And so he was a survivor, ended up there. He worked in the infirmary. And actually, Jason, you're going to love this. I grew up with stories of them then there in India having seances at night. He would say to me, Claudia, I swear to you, the table would rise. The three-legged table, we all had our hands on the table and it would come right up off the ground. And so I heard the story once, I heard the story twice, I heard it 3 times. I thought, okay, I'm going to put this in with his war stories, right? and then until I started seeing things, I started seeing things in church and, all of these spirits. And it was, and my mother, she was not a practice. I don't think I could call her a practitioner of the occult. That would be more my dad. But my mom was a reader. She was a card reader. After she passed, we found over 100 decks of cards hidden in all little areas.
What kind of cards? Like tarot cards or?
No, they were Neapolitan cards. They were Neapolitan, these very small cards that are very particular. And reading those are really interesting. They're really super cards, really, really interesting cards. And, but you didn't talk about that. You never said anything like that, And as far as I know, I was the only child. I don't think he told this to my other sisters, that the table would rise, Yeah.
Looking at your background, and it's interesting. So at what age did you first realize that you had intuitive abilities?
It was about 4. I don't think I was 5 yet. I was in church and all of a sudden, and the mass was going on. And I remember looking up, how churches have a dome and they have frescoes and statues. And all of a sudden I saw spirits dancing as if they were fornicating. They were flowing in and out of each other. And I thought, well, they must be playing,
In church?
And church, they must be playing. And so my dad kept pulling my hand. Claudia, Claudia, he's saying in Italian, Claudia, Claudia. And I looked and I thought, oh, yeah. And shortly after that, I would go to church in the afternoons when there was nobody there, because we were close by. We were a couple of blocks from the church, and that young, you can't move that far. So I went in, I'd sit down. And while I did that, I would see the altar would be like a theater, and I would see a scene of people, spirits moving, talking gesticulating, and then going across the scene, going across the theater of the altar. And what I did, I thought to myself, am I making this up? I used to think so. What I did, and I did it consistently, I would go home and write usually just a paragraph or 2 lines. And then it became the first time it happened, I wrote a 1-line poem. And the other times I made it into the shape of the topic. If it were a tree, I made it into a tree. And I still have those. And that's how it started, because I knew that nobody else is seeing these, nobody else but me. And then had a couple of fainting episodes. It was always in church. And I was just so into it and so concentrated. And I would just boom, 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 fall to the person next to me would pull me up. And then even as I grew older, I was studying, I was in university, and all of a sudden I would just faint, and I didn't understand what the fainting was about at that time. But I think it was, well, not a possession, but it is a bit much for you to just concentrate that much all of a sudden. And I don't call it meditation. I don't subscribe to the word meditation. I don't meditate. I get my answers just go and get them and bring them back. I don't have to sit there forever, like that. No, I do have to concentrate more if I'm channeling live on my YouTube channel. There I do. I have to close out the audience and, the people chatting and asking questions. Yeah. But otherwise, no, I just get what I need, go and get it, pick it up.
What is your favorite thing about being intuitive? Sorry.
Let's see. Well, when people hear and know that I'm intuitive, they look at me funny. They look at me funny.
You get this? You get the look, and then you get the head go back a little, and then you'll have someone, depending on who it is, you'll have someone say, "What do you pick up on me? Do you pick up on anything?"
Right.
And then you kind of look at them, and your look is never the same again to them, ever. There's nothing the same again.
But people think that all I do is read people, as if I had nothing better to do in my life. What are you thinking? What are you seeing? Nothing. I'm hungry.
I'm enjoying my favorite song from this morning that I heard on the radio that I decided to play along in my head right now. I'm not looking at you reading anything about you.
Yeah. And so that's something that just happens. But my favorite thing, I think it is the channeling, I have to say. I really do like it. And you know why? Because ever since the first time I did it with a client, first with relatives and friends, and then when I started doing it professionally with clients, it's so touching. The hair stands on end. Yeah, yes. Goosebumps. It is because you tell them things I could never know, and it brings them closure, and you can't do that all the time. I can't do more than 2 a day. I tried. Yeah. I
have 3 later on, and I'm thinking to myself, after working all day as a lawyer, I'm going to do some readings, and it's part of what it is. I want to ask you this, looking at it from my personal experiences and where I've been the last.
You're a funny guy. It's just oozing. You're oozing joy when you speak, and you think I could see the wheels turning. That's great.
I'll be honest. I'm 45, and I filled other roles in my life, and this has been the most enjoyable role of my life so far, doing podcasting stuff. And I never thought I would do it. It's just something that I really do. Like, I was looking forward to our interview this morning, and I had 5 billion things to do beforehand for my lawyer job, but this was like my reward for the day.
Oh, how sweet of you to say that.
To have a really cool interview with an amazing person that shares similar viewpoints and has positive
sweet of you.
energy. I could tell when I talk to people, even through the internet, if they have good energy, and I could tell you had good energy. Yeah. And looking at your YouTube channel. Talk to us about your YouTube channel.
Okay. Well, there's a lot of different things because, like I said, I started with card readings, and what I did was I would say, okay, April, Aries, Taurus, and the whole bit. I got so tired of that. I really got so tired of that because I thought, I don't even believe in astrology. Why am I doing this? Astrology gives me a headache. I
don't do astrology. It's a foreign language to me that I've never studied or understood.
I don't want to.
I'm a Libra. That's all I know.
I don't want to, talk down about that. I mean, there are people who are good at it, do that very well, and it's just not for me. And so I, started reading crystals. I have behind the computer that you can't see are at least maybe 35 crystal balls, different types.
You see the one behind my shoulder?
Yes. Oh,
I have one on this end too.
The geode. Yeah. What is that? Is that a citrine or a amethyst?
Well, if you I'm turning the screen for a second.
Yeah.
You see that's a rose quartz globe, citrine, and the citrine. My cup's in the way. Sorry, I don't mean to be show and tell right now.
So that is a soul. That is a soul. That is a lamp, a salt lamp.
Behind me?
To where your mug was. Where
my mug was. Let me see. I know
where the light is coming from. Yeah.
Right there, that orange.
Yeah.
Citrine tower. It's a citrine tower. Let me see.
Oh my God. I knew I was drawn. Citrine is my favorite stone.
Picture this. You love crystals like I do, I'm sure, right?
Yeah.
They're healing, they're soothing, they're chill. My best friend owns a crystal metaphysical shop here in Tampa. And she's the reason I became an open psychic. She's like my muse, so to speak, you know,
My
the woman under you.
God.
And she started giving me crystals a few years ago when we first met at a wedding in 2016. And I was just like, oh, you're giving me this crystal? It's cool, but let me give it to someone else because it's a rock.
Right.
There's nothing about it. And then I went to Sedona, Arizona, and I got activated to amethyst. And it all started from there. And next thing you know, it's like a hobby that became a passion. And my whole living room looks like a crystal like yours.
All over the place. Oh, the earrings I have. I make sure I have a macrame artist put in stones that I want certain purposes.
Cool.
Rhodochrosite, you know, I mean, it's crazy. And it could be what can I say? This is an open door, you know. I do have something that is so particular. I bought this, and it's a meteor, part of a meteor, and it's if you look at it through the light, it's green.
Is it moldavite?
Moldavite, yeah.
I love moldavite.
Black,
it's one of my favorites. High energy.
Yeah, for a month I had headaches. I didn't realize how strong it was. It was so strong, and I had to keep it away from me. And it really is powerful.
Little show and tell. Fool's gold.
What is that?
Fool's gold.
Oh.
I don't usually do this on a show, but
because we're
having fun right now, right? It's like show and tell.
The audience can't.
Our audience is watching us with show and tell with each other.
Yeah.
Let me ask.
It's so much fun.
What do you think of synchronicity? Because that's something I've really
synchronicity. Well, it
I'll give
happens
you
all the time.
I'll be a little more specific with you. How about synchronicity with soul relationships or twin flame dynamics?
All right. Those are words on a page for me. Okay. Soulmates and twin flames. I think that's overrated. I think I said, you know, when somebody asks me, I said, look, I don't know what God you believe in or what divine you pray to, but could you imagine that we were put on this earth and there was one person for us, and they throw us on earth and said, okay, now go find it. Wouldn't that be cruel? It can't be.
You know what's crueler than that? You meet this person and you fall for them, and then you tell them how you feel and they run away from you. That's a classic twin flame dynamic. You meet somebody, you fall for them, you have this strong connection. You feel like I had it happen to me 2 years ago. You meet somebody, you are intrigued by them, they're intrigued by you, and next thing you know, it's like, did I exist? Could that person exist? It like they pick up and go. But the reason I asked that question is with synchronicity, I've noticed a lot of angel numbers. If you're thinking about something and all of a sudden it's 10, 10, 11, 11, 1, 1, 1, you know.
Yeah.
And then I've also had it with songs. I've had it with, it's kind of like, it's just evolved for me. My understanding of synchronicity has evolved on deeper levels.
Everything that happens is not by chance, really, Jason, if you think of it. Look, I'll give you an idea. With today's Tuesday or Wednesday?
Tuesday.
I can't remember. Tuesday.
Maybe Wednesday your time, but Tuesday my time.
No, not yet. Okay, I went swimming yesterday. I'm lucky I have a pool a couple of blocks away. I like to swim, right? I had a t-shirt on under when I go to the pool, I get everything ready. I put on my bathing suit first so I could just go and jump in the pool. I had a t-shirt over because at night I have to take my clothes off, put it in the little locker there and just jump in the water. Yesterday I went in, did all that, put on my little cap and goggles, my whatever I use, jumped in the water, and I was doing my first lap. And I started feeling all these threads around me. I think, what is in the water here? And I realized I had my t-shirt on still. And I thought, that's odd. So I did the lap back, took it off, wrung it out, put it there. And I finished my 40 laps. I go back home and I had 3 appointments, right? And they were spread 4:30, 7 p.m. and 9 p.m. The first one didn't show up. And I thought, now how odd is that? So I'm writing to the person, is something wrong? What, you know, and something occurred I think she changed her computer. Her calendar didn't sync with the new count, whatever that went. All right. So I didn't go anywhere because I thought, okay, 7, it was by 5:30, 7 is coming around. Let me check this person. Let me see. I'm going to interview them. So I started studying, looking at the materials that I had. 7 comes around. They don't show up. And I'm thinking, gee, this is odd, very, very odd. Same thing, 9 p.m. Nothing
All three?
showed up. Nothing showed up. Today, I didn't go to the pool, right? I had an appointment. The person doesn't show up. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, this is enough. What is going on? And so I started talking to my guides. I'm saying, come on, guys, give me some clue. I mean, what's going on? Is it a good thing or a bad thing? What am I supposed? Is there going to be an earthquake coming up, or is something else going to happen? So I decided, all right, let's go. I'm going to eat out. I'm going to sit down, have some wine, cool down, relax. If somebody doesn't show up, I'll have more time for myself. Go listen to some music. But it was very odd. It was until you showed, because it was 10:01. 10:02. Oh, please don't tell me he's not showing up.
Oh, me? I'm sorry to laugh. I was fighting traffic to get back. I had to go to my office.
I was going to throw in the towel at that point. Oh, I'm never going to do this again.
So you had prospective guests for interviews and stuff that you were talking about with those 3 appointments?
Yeah.
Oh my
They
God.
were all appointments for either I was on a show or they were on my show. And it was just, something's happening. This is a precursor to something, some kind of news, some kind of information, some kind of, I had to try to read the signs. And so like why I started saying this is because you said synchronicity. And I have to say, everything is there for a reason. Everything. Yeah. Oh, wait a minute. I didn't tell you. My t-shirt, I jumped in with a t-shirt. I came home getting ready to record. There's a bird in the room underneath where my wire for the YouTube.
In your room?
In the recording where I had to record it. I don't know how it got into the house because I had gone to get the mail outside. I must have left the door open, and it was such a tiny bird. And I thought, oh my God, this means I can't. What am I going to do? It's a sign. So I had somebody come in and take the bird out, and I hope they found the little nest, because so that was the second one, and then all of the 3 things that didn't go through. And I thought,
there's your sign.
Yeah, there were all very strange signs and very interesting things. It's not like I hit my head that usually, or you fall, or you get pain because of negative energy that you attract, because you know what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we are right in the forefront there. And if you don't know how to do any kind of psychic cleansing, you're gone. That's it. That's the end.
What was the scariest thing when you first realized you were a medium? What was the scariest thing you had to overcome in order to pursue your spiritual path?
Cleansing, psychic cleansing, because I didn't realize the amount of negative energy that came to me.
I use this Palo Santo spray.
Yeah. Sometimes it's since COVID broke out, it's been worse. It comes from all different, there are carriers. It's and plus, if you go into YouTube like I do and live, you're susceptible to that a lot. That is the scariest. I to this day, I have someone that I work with, and she cleans me, I clean her. But the levels of negative attack that you get, well, the higher you go, the worse it is. The higher levels that you work at, the 30th or whatever, it gets worse and worse, but you have to learn how to dance. This is my take. I have to learn how to dance. I dance with those shadows. I like knowing that they're, shadow boy, you want to fight with me? Okay, come on, let's have a dance, but don't, put me out of commission, or else the dance is over.
How hard was it for you to balance? Like for me as a lawyer right now, I'm balancing the psychic business growing and I'm balancing the podcast growing. And I love it. It's like growing pains, but I love it.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you, like, at what point did you balance to decide? Are you still 50-50 between your?
Well, no, I'm not 50-50 anymore, because I've lessened the load. I've decided to not stop. I am, what I am, but not to stop, but only to offer one course. I've stopped teaching simultaneous interpreting. I've had enough of that. I've done that for just enough.
I'm going to ask you for our audience, because I'm sure someone listening, what does simultaneous interpreting mean?
Think of the United Nations, and when people hear foreign languages and there are in booths raised above the General Assembly, the glass booths, the movie, The Interpreter, with the Australian actress, I can't remember her name, the redhead, I can't remember her name, who was once, I can't remember her name. Anyway, so there you listen to one language in your ears and you then speak the other language outwardly. And there's, of course, you learn it. I've been teaching it forever. There are ways to do it. And one way is to uncover one ear so you can monitor the output of your voice, and you still have the sensitivity to listen to the incoming. And so there's overlapping speech. And we use a technique of called décalage, this delay, it's called in English ear voice span. The time that it takes for you to listen to something before the interpreting of that segment comes out, because it's not what goes in and what goes out. It's impossible to say exactly what somebody's saying, even if it's two cognate languages like Italian and Spanish. There's no way. It just doesn't exist. So there is an interpretation. And today someone asked me, well, how do those, the same question that you're asking me. And I said, well, it was an easy jump, because when you're talking to spirits, they come in with different ways of communicating. And obviously I'm interpreting what they're saying to me and giving it to you. I swear to you, Jason, the messages that came to me were in odd languages. And I'm thinking, what is it? And ancient languages. And then finally I made it I negotiated with them. Please just give it to me in things that I understand. I can understand German. But why don't you just give it to me in English? Don't tell me you have the Tower of Babel out there. And
Absolutely.
so this is how I've sort of balanced out. And so I lessened my load, got rid of the simultaneous interpreting, and I'm working with the voice, the movement. The voice in movement is actually the course that I'm offering. It's
Exciting.
how to control the voice using this method, Feldenkrais method. And it's becoming aware of your body in movement facilitates the actual thing that you're doing. And voice, when you have to speak, it's everybody. I don't know one person who's not have fear of speaking, even if we do this, right? We're doing this now, but there's always a little bit of, that little nervous energy. And until, at least for me, it goes like this, until I speak my first 2 or 3 words, then I'm calmed down. Speaking in front of an audience is a big deal. I mean, you have an audience of 300, 400 people, you get up. I could still sometimes remember some really, really touching press conferences when the press thinks they know both languages, and they always put you, to the test, asking you questions, and you have to really be on your guard. And it's riveting. It's really riveting. And so knowing how to control your voice is a big deal. It says a lot about you. It talks to the soul. When you know what used to be, people said, the eyes are the windows of the soul. I have to, since I'm practically blind, I say the voice is the soul. It is what comes out of the person is the soul. It is the mirror of the soul, I think. Oh, you could turn me off anytime you want, Jason.
I'm thinking
Don't
this.
let me go.
No. I'm thinking
as
you're talking, I'm thinking this. You brought up a very interesting point with your answer just now. You're talking about how when you read with spirit, or when you're reading as a psychic, I tell people this all the time. When I do readings as a medium, I get words, I'll get images, I'll get residual memories, I'll get statements, I'll get joking around, I'll pick up,
joking around.
I'll walk around my, I usually do a lot of readings virtually. So I'll walk around my place. I'm on the phone pacing when I'm talking to my mother about her son who died. And I'm like, for some reason, he's making me step around the house and walk around. And she's like, he used to pace when he was on the phone. Yeah. And it's like, so there's different ways that we're interpreting too, right?
Well, you're giving me an idea too, because when we do it in Zoom, I do it with my clients in Zoom, but I have the video off so I can concentrate. But I like the idea of wearing headphones, maybe Bluetooth headphones, and walking around, because that will facilitate so much the process. Really, it's a great idea.
How do you view dreams? I'm going to give you an example here. When I discuss dreams with people, and I'll talk about one of the things I've come up with, at least through my experience and my spiritual journey as a medium, is I'll say that when you are asleep, that the veil between the conscious and the other side, if that's what we want to call it, spiritual realm, is the veil's thinnest then. And I'll be able to pick up on my grandfather. He pops in my dreams, and I have other people who tell me all the time that they have deceased loved ones that'll pop into dreams, but it's like jarbled, and it's not like they sit you on the couch and say, this is what I want you to do next week. It's not like that. It's usually some small message that's jarbled, but I feel like energy is what it is. Mm-hmm. And I love getting visitation dreams from relatives or, whoever or whatever. And I wanted to see what your opinion is about dreams.
I have a couple of things about dreams here. On the one hand, I'd like to side with Carl Jung when he talks about how our dreams are pieces of ourselves projected. Okay. If I dream about a child, is playing on the floor and I go and pick up the child, that's a part of me working with my inner child, something like that. Or if I come out in my dream as a man, well, it's always me. Even the places are relevant to who I am, where I was. That's one thing. And often it happens like that. But they are also windows to our past lives. Mm-hmm. Not only spirits past that come in, but our past lives. And they are really good windows to that. And it's hard to discern which are which. That is the difficulty with dream, because we're sleeping, we travel to the astral planes and we go, who knows where, and sometimes I write all my dreams down. And I try to understand where they come from. And when I can't figure it out, I go to this woman that I work with energetically, and we discuss it. And many of the dreams, really interestingly, and I think you have to remember this as well, because we're always progressing, right? Mm-hmm. We're energy, and our energetic state is always progressing. So the type of dreams we have gives us clues as to how progressed we are. It could be located in a house or a garage, or a house in a garage, or a house in a garage in a church, or it gives us an indication of where we're going energetically in terms of our spiritual nature. And that too, though, is very hard to discern, and it's really difficult to interpret, because that's not my areas of expertise. There's a lot of questions I have about that yet. So that's why I keep writing. I'm still studying. Let's say I'm going.
We are. You know what I call it? As lawyers, we always say we practice law because we're not good to, and laws change all the time. So you got to stay current. So you practice, doctors practice.
Right.
So why can't psychics practice, right?
Right. Exactly. I mean, that's what I think today. Who knows tomorrow? Maybe I'll be so enlightened. Who knows? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
When you go to like a social environment, do most people that you interact with, do they know you more as your professional life as an interpreter or college professor or academia, or do they know you from your spiritual side?
Well, because my spiritual side is done mostly online, because I work with people all over the world. But let's say if I go dancing, I dance tango, right? And we go to a milonga, and we get into a conversation, and they ask me what I do. I said, well, so, because I won't go to a gathering where people know me already. Well, of course, my colleagues at the university and a few people know that I have a number of different hats. If it's for the first time and that people ask me what I do, that's the first thing I say. Well, I have a couple of things I do. I do this and I do that.
There are a couple of different hats.
Yeah, I have a couple of different hats, and I leave the psychic for last, because a lot of people are afraid of tarot cards. A lot of people are afraid of the occult. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people are just afraid, period, about anything. So I just keep it light, unless they ask me for help, then I help them. But,
I waited 10 years from when I first discovered I had my ability to.
How did it start with you?
Sure. Good. I'd love to answer that. My grandfather passed away in 2004, and I was in Wisconsin. And 7 years before he died, I always knew that when he died, I'd be by myself with no one to console me. It's a really weird premonition. So I'm always around a lot of people here in Florida. Like, I have college friends, and I never have that to be without. So when my grandfather passed, if I had been in Tampa at the time, I could have gone to any of my friends and been around people.
Right.
Well, my grandfather had a stroke, and he was up in Jersey. He just moved up there, and I went and saw him the day after his stroke for like a few hours before I had to fly back to Florida to go to Wisconsin to cover a deposition last minute for my boss at the time.
Mhm.
I wound up in Wisconsin. My mom called and told me, by the way, Grandpa died. I was like, So I sat there and orbs of light appeared to me in my hotel room, like an Unsolved Mysteries episode. And I just remember unconditional love washing over me and my grandfather telling me, go get food. I love you, son. Everything will be fine. You know, I'm always going to be with you.
Oh, how nice.
And I've never grieved his death since then. And I've always had him with me. He leaves pennies for me. He'll appear in my dreams. He'll coordinate. He woke up. I have parrots. He woke up one of my parrots one time a year ago in January of 2020 before COVID happened to give me guidance and advice on how to pursue my legal career. And what I mean is I had an alarm set for 6 a.m. And I went to bed and I was really pensive, thinking really hard to myself, you know, Grandpa, I'd love you to give me some guidance here. You're always so aware. And I said, if you could just give me some guidance on this one decision I need to make. The decision was, should I pick up new business or should I go after an old business partner for old business that he owed me money for? And I was like, you know what? So I fell asleep. I woke up at 5:55 a.m. to my bird making this really weird noise. So I jumped up because my bird sleeps in my room. I have 2 of them. And I jumped up and ran over to the cage like, are you all right, Pepper? Are you all right? And then she was still asleep. So wait, what made the noise? And as soon as I went from looking at her, I looked to the right and it was 555. And I'm like, wait a minute. My alarm's not going off for 5 more minutes. Why did my bird wake me up, but my bird's still asleep? And I'm looking at the clock and so I looked up 555 and 555 is an angel number. It talks about letting go of the old, welcoming new energy and go. And so I was like, all right, I know this. I walked down the steps to pick up my laundry out of the washer machine to go, the dryer, to go to my lawyer job for the day. And I had to drive cross state because I had a deposition on the East Coast of Florida, 2 hours away. So I'm getting up early and rushing around. I'm thinking, wow, that was a cool little thing, Grandpa. Thank you. I go to my washer machine to put stuff into the dryer after I got stuff out of the dryer to bring upstairs. And guess what was in the middle of the washer machine? A penny. Now, that sounds insignificant to someone who says, oh, well, you had change in your pocket.
No.
But what they don't know is there's a sign up right by my washer machine that a friend of mine did, reminding me to remove all the change from my pockets because 2 years earlier, I actually ruined the washer machine. A bunch of quarters went into the engine of the motor. And so I don't have any change in my pockets. So you tell me how the heck a perfectly heads up penny was placed and my washer machine doesn't have that middle thing. It's one of those that doesn't have. Yeah. So the synchronicity was blazing. So I was like, all right, I made that right decision. Here I am, happier than I was a year ago. Thank you, Grandpa. That's synchronicity right there.
Yeah.
With you, I find it extremely enticing to think that you're doing what you're doing to your own terms, that you're able to fill all your roles in your life, do it in a way where you're happy about it and thriving.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Now let's use a couple of examples, right? All right. So I said that my podcast started because I wanted to read the chapters of the book because I was writing a book. Okay. I made it work that way because or else I couldn't find any hours in the day. Right. But I had no intention of, developing a podcast. I had and not even inviting people to talk. I didn't know, I didn't anything. So that was luck. Let's say that was luck. Right. Then I got into YouTube and YouTube was a learning experience in the least, but then because I have this, I don't know about you, but I am not happy unless I learn something. I have to learn something. I have to know that I'm learning something. So I'm not going to go towards things known. I'm going to go towards the unknown, right? And obviously psychic work is unknown for the most part, and the world of mediumship and the other world and other worlds. And so that's, it's, the thing is though, grounding yourself, because I until today, until a couple of years ago, every time I would walk, people would say, you look like you're walking on air. I'd jump in, just jumping with now, and I wasn't grounded. And that's true. Everybody would call me the butterfly because my feet were always 10 inches above which is not a good thing because I wasn't grounded. Now I know what being grounded means. And it's such a beautiful feeling. But I think that is what you really need to look for. It's similar to airline pilots or airline hostesses. I don't know what they call them today. Stewardesses, flight attendants, right? They put on their mask first before giving other
self-care.
people. that is the key. If you don't do that, you have to protect yourself no matter what, or else you can't even follow your interests anymore, And there is a reason why you are a lawyer. There was a reason for that when you started it. And I always say that in another life, I will come back and be a lawyer. I want to be. Case law. I want to do case law. I want to, I know what I want to do.
I'll tell you this. I love being a lawyer and I enjoy it, but the psychic thing for me, it's a totally different skill set. It's a totally different lifestyle. It's like, you can't describe the two. Just like with your career, you can't describe the two, right?
You've heard talk of Akashic records.
Yes.
Akashic records, Edward Casey, and
I love
the
Edward
idea.
Casey.
It's a sort of a metaphor for where all the information is stored. Okay, and it is a metaphor, but it's there. That's where I work with my soul therapy. I work with the Akashic records, and I get all of the information that I need. Okay, now that is research for me. All right. And being a professor, obviously I do research, I publish in the whole bit. When I started doing that about 10 years ago, it was the most interesting research I had ever done, ever. And to see a person coming to me and they want this soul profile, and no two people are alike. And it's far more interesting than a chart, an astrological chart. It's far more interesting. That really is superb. That's really one of the most interesting things I do. I love it. I just love it. I do love that.
What do you think, from what you've done in your life, where do you see yourself going next?
I know I have a long way to go. It's a long way. Well, there will be another book, and then there's going to be another book.
Three. I get 3 or 4 books on your part.
To tell you the truth, a week ago, no, maybe less than a week ago, I moved my podcast from one platform. I don't know if it's cool to say which platform, to another platform. Why? Because the first platform, I loved it. It was great, but you could only have one podcast. If you had another podcast, it would be a monthly fee, and it was just limited. So I moved to another platform where you could have as many podcasts as you want. So maybe we have a future together.
Wow.
That would be fun. So that's, the sky's the limit, really.
What's the name of that platform, if you don't mind me asking, just out of curiosity?
Okay. I was on Buzzsprout.
Okay.
And I moved to Castos. I studied them all. And Castos is
how do you say
Castos. 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 And it's difficult, the beginning. I was freaking out how to get everything done. Then I finally got everything to work, and I didn't even have to talk to a technician. And that I figured out today when one of my, appointments didn't go through. I spent the 3 hours trying to make it, linking to Apple Podcasts and iTunes. It just didn't get it.
It's work. It's work, isn't it?
Work. But it worked, and it worked worked so beautifully that I'm, it just saves me so much time now. And the idea of having unlimited number of episodes or podcasts that you do is refreshing. It really is refreshing.
I was kind of playing around in my head about doing a podcast. I actually worked on the setting it up and everything to do a podcast as a lawyer with disaster stuff. That's what I do. But
a lawyer with what?
My background, I basically do disaster work. I do insurance companies.
Kidding.
I do stuff with hurricane stuff and all that.
Oh.
But I thought about it more, and I'm like, the passion I have with this podcast for me is so strong that I would be spreading myself too thin with everything else I'm doing already. So that's why I'm like, I love using Zoom as a vehicle to take amazing interviews with someone like yourself. And then I'm also starting to grow my YouTube channel very slowly. It's in the inception stage, but
what's it called? The YouTube
the social,
channel?
The social psychic YouTube channel, basically.
Look, because I was hoping that I could use this video on my channel.
Yes.
And then refer to you.
I would love that. I have a very small following because I haven't been on there as much, like 100 people.
Well,
but
that's okay. I mean, you have to start somewhere.
Yeah, we all start somewhere. And I would love that. You absolutely have full reign to do that. I appreciate it.
Good. That would be great. I just want to finish this. Today I found a podcast. You know how things pop up and you match with somebody, and
Yes.
and the podcast is called Ideas on Trial. And I thought to myself, I think it's one of the best, and they only have 7 or 8 episodes. One of the best, it's located in France, one of the best talk shows that I've heard. And all I could write to
Is it
them.
in
I wrote
English?
to them. It's in English. There are foreign voices of people speaking, but it's so erudite, very well.
I'll have to check that out.
The idea is really interesting. Yeah. It's interesting. Yeah.
We are going to have to collaborate more, because I am
In
really
some
enjoying,
way.
because I'm looking at this interview and I'm like, wow, it's like two people, like when I spoke to Scarlett.
Scarlett, yeah.
Yeah, I had the same interview.
We had she's a kindred soul.
Yes. We connected immediately. The only thing I could say about that, and I feel the same way with you right now, we're connecting. The only thing I could say is spirit family, right? Have you ever heard that phrase?
Yeah,
where
soul
people
group of origin. I use a soul group of origin, where you come from. There's all different soul groups. But you know what I think it is? It is the mediumship. That mediumship is so profound and so important, because it's different from, thinking, well, where did I lose my keys? Oh, right. It's quite different, isn't it?
It is. It is. We're running low on time already, and I can't believe that. But I do want to.
That's too bad.
I'm going to be honest with you. I'd love to have you come back on again and do another collaboration in the future, because I think there's so much we can cover together.
But there was another question I wanted to ask you about your work as a medium, because you told me the beginning, but when you and the way you work walking around there, I love that. But how does it happen in your case? Do people come to you and they say, look, I have this, I want to talk to this person who has passed? Do you have a time limit that you work with them?
I do 20, 30, and 60-minute readings. Most of the time I tell people to do 30, because it's kind of in the middle. And I'll tell them, if you're coming to me with any questions that you want me to look at for areas, I say, come up with 3 areas that you want me to focus on: career, love, work, whatever, school, friends, whoever.
But that's a reading, like a psychic reading. It's not mediumship.
For mediumship, I'll let the person just I'll basically tune into the person's energy and start picking up information, and then I'll say, well, is there anyone in particular? If there's a lot of people around the person's energy, you know how you you're asked to read for somebody, and then you can sense there's multiple energies that are trying to come through at the same time, and it's like one portal kind of thing.
Interesting. Yeah.
So I will usually deal with that, and usually when they come through, they'll coordinate and tell me how they died. So I don't know if you've had that happen, where they recognize or they'll represent to the person, like if it's their niece or nephew. Well, I had a stroke and then I had breathing issues and I died that way. Or whatever.
But no, I was interested in knowing also the length of time that you can do that.
Wow.
How long for one sitting, or for one person?
Interesting. I had a close friend of mine about 10 years ago who lost her boyfriend in a motorcycle accident.
Yeah.
And I developed my psychic abilities by becoming close to her and reading for her thousands of times over 3 years.
Oh, yeah.
And so I know I could do it all the time if I didn't have anything else interrupting me, but you get burnt out, you get tired, we have our daily lives. So
right.
Mediumship. Do you ever get nervous doing mediumship? Even at this stage of my career now, I'll give you an example. I had somebody ask me if I could pick up on their son who committed suicide. And I had to wait 5 days to return their call or email, because I had to think about it, because I got nervous at first, because I was like, that's a heavy thing to, but then I wound up getting a bunch after that. So it's like, but it's hard, it's hard to have. That's one thing I should say to you. When someone comes to you for a reading, I prefer someone come pretty much, I actually had to tell somebody, don't come to me yet. Someone's brother just died and they hit me up through my Google profile. And they, I have Google reviews and all that.
Yeah.
And and I could tell with the person's energy that they were not coming with the right mindset. And I've had this happen before. When someone comes too close in time and they want you to be their problem solver, and they think you could do miracles, and I don't claim to do any miracles.
Yeah.
Have you had that experience in the past where you have to try to
I've had a couple of experiences that were really, really difficult. For example, a couple whose daughter, a very young daughter, not even an adult age, had committed suicide. Yeah, the week before, and they needed to know why. And so that was really difficult. another case, for example, people come and they want to channel their guides. Now that is a specific thing. Okay, so let's say instead of asking the grandmother for some kind of guidance, they'll ask their guides or someone else for guidance. And it happened that some of the answers did not sit well with them, because it just hit too personal. They were not the kind of answers they wanted to hear. And I realized that, and they told me, and I said, well, that's it. I can't say anything else. It's not like a card game where I could, try to shift the cards around and, so it's difficult. So a lot of people come in with expectations.
Well, and they think you're going to come, they think that you're going to be able to give them exactly what they want to hear.
Right,
and that's not the way it works. Spirit doesn't work that way. It's not like you could turn on Channel 7 News at 11 o'clock at night and you'll know that you're going to get that show. When you come to us as psychic mediums, it's like, hey, whatever's going to come through from the other side to you directly.
All right. People want to know, look, I'm investing in, I've seen 3 houses. I want to know which is the one. And so the third time the person comes and she said, well, why would that one say this? And why? I said, look, if spirits gave you the numbers of the lottery, I'd be rich. I could take a commission. That's not what they're interested in communicating,
Exactly.
So it's difficult. It's difficult. And what I love about the work, absolutely love, is the playful nature of these spirits. I think it's so difficult when they're playing around and the person in front of me is crying and I can't say, well, they're laughing and jumping. I can't say that, but they're, and
I'll tell whoever it is, I'll just automatically transmit whatever it is. I'm like,
yeah, I will too.
I had one person that was kind of jovial as a child. He was in his 20s. I shouldn't say child, but for his mother, he had died of an accident, a car accident. And I knew this person from a coworker from my legal job. So I gave a reading and I was here at my house during the pandemic and the lights started flickering. And so I say this to her. I said, it's interesting. My lights don't always flicker at my house. All of them were flickering. And I'm like, did your son used to flicker the lights as a joke? And she's like, oh my God, he did it all the time. That's our thing. It's like Morse code. And all of a sudden, her lights started flickering while mine are flickering. And I'm just like, okay, we get the message. Like direct, manipulation of the electricity thing and all that. And have you found that it was spirit energy as well, as that they're very electrical in nature and they can make things pop?
Make things disappear, make things show. Yeah, a lot of that. Have you ever had the experience of a poltergeist right in your room? Have you ever had that? Yeah.
I sense spirits.
Yeah.
I haven't had a direct poltergeist though, like the movie.
Oh, you would know if there was one.
I try to keep my place. I sage regularly and I try to keep a positive.
Oh, so does I.
It's hard. It's hard.
In other
and those things And so you walk into an environment like that and you went, ooh, it's cold in here. The energy's dropped. When you walk in a low vibration place and people are lower vibration and they seem very like of this world only, you can feel that energy the minute you walk in.
Right away. Yeah.
Wow.
Boy, we covered a lot of ground, didn't we? And we didn't even, that was just the tip of the iceberg.
I agree. I want to ask you this. It's been such a pleasure having our conversation shared.
Oh, it was a pleasure for me too.
For this. If you were to be in an elevator, let's say you're in Rome somewhere in an office building and you're in an elevator and you have the opportunity to get stuck in an elevator with air conditioning and all of the amenities, but you have an opportunity to get stuck with somebody for a half hour, anyone in the world at any time period, who would it be and why?
Amelia Earhart. Okay. Amelia Earhart, because I believe I was her. I think I was, that was my past life. But also I, would like to find out more about what happened, and I never thought of channeling her. I should do that.
That might be a book idea or a YouTube episode idea or a podcast idea.
Oh my God. Souls, missing planes or missing souls. Where
the ultimate cold case.
Yeah. Oh God, you're good. You're good.
There's nothing else but what we pick up.
Yeah, Jason, this is great. The ultimate cold. We've got to put our feet on the ground now, go back into our lives. You're getting me on a roll. The ultimate
Our
goal.
playtime is over, right?
I know.
I feel like when we get to talk spirituality and psychic and mediumship and we get to do it all on a pot, it's like playtime to me. It's like you and I met for a play date through the internet. Yeah. We had a great hour together, and now we've got to go back to our normal routines of our lives. But
but so what? I mean, that's what makes it so interesting. And tomorrow's another day,
I deeply appreciate you coming on. Direct my audience to where they can find you.
Oh, I will. They could find me in YouTube as Christelle Martinet, AKA, I write that, AKA Claudia Monacelli. My website is www.christellemartinet, 2 L's and 2 T's for Martinet.com. And another website I have is www.claudiamonacelli.com. And of course, I have Facebook and Instagram under Christelle, and Twitter. I can give you.
What are you on Instagram?
On Instagram, I'm Christelle Martinet, one after another. Christelle Martinet.
I'll look you up on all that.
And what are you on? Because I'm on Instagram. Tweeting all the time. I see you tweeting all the time.
I'm on Twitter and I'm on Instagram. My Instagram's. I'm actually on most of those things. Most social media, I find I use it to get messages out there, keep in touch with people. But mostly I prefer my Instagram, my Twitter, my Facebook pages, and I'm starting up the YouTube channel. The universe is the limit, right? It's infinity. Right.
Yeah,
it's infinity.
Yeah. It's infinity. People have so much difficulty in understanding or even conceiving of that infinity.
You know what I find about you I find extremely refreshing is your energy is so positive and so open and so.
Have you ever thought of timelines, different timelines? This is something that will get you going. Go start reading about that.
Alternate realities?
No. Well, you can consider it alternate realities, but it is in the same. It's in a different time as opposed to what this time is. You're enacting another type of experience with another a person who is not in your current life, because maybe you're not talking to them, but somewhere, but that you can.
I'll have to look into that.
Figured out up to 5 different timelines, and it was just mind-boggling. I had to stop because
what I love about this? Yeah. What I love about this is like the multiverse, and when you look at our ability to grasp and understand the magnitude of where we really exist and where our place is in this universe, it's mind-boggling, right?
Yeah, it's mind-boggling.
We're not anywhere close to understanding even just the tip of the iceberg. And I don't think we will for a very long time.
No. I just started to approach alien and alien abductions and things like that.
I've been dabbling in that stuff for a while. Yeah. It's such a unique area because how do all these thousands and thousands of people have these experiences, have these? I actually did see my own UFO twice. My best friend that owns a crystal shop, she somehow attracts alien energy or something. We were out on a ranch out in central Hillsborough County in Tampa where I live, and we were stargazing. And she said, you'll likely see a UFO. And then we did. And the thing went in a 90-degree angle. It went down in the sky like this and shot off. And I don't know any aircraft that we have that can do that.
Too bad you couldn't film it.
The lighting was bad because if you try to do it with an iPhone, even now, not the best, not ready yet for that. But it was crazy. I believe in aliens. I believe in UFOs. Look, we're mediums.
I have to believe in
if we're mediums, right? If we can do what we can do and we can pick up, then why are we going to say that there's not something else?
Yeah. And I channeled John E. Mack, who was a psychologist and was one of the first who started writing in the mainstream psychological world about alien abduction because of his clients coming to him. And that is fascinating. I mean,
that's a whole other area. I've been trying to do a little of that with my show. I had MUFON on my first season.
Who's that?
MUFON, they're the organization that investigates sightings and abductions and stuff. And they're across the United States. They're also global, but they're a really great organization, and they help. What they try to do is, let's say you saw, like I saw that UFO. Let's say if I took it seriously, I reported it to them. They would actually send someone out to do their own investigation and collaborate facts and build a story, and then they have a centralized database.
Are they independently funded?
Yeah,
or how?
They're independent of everybody. And they've been around since the 60s or something. It's been a while. Like
Interesting. That is.
Yeah. I have to say thank you so much.
Thank you
for coming on the show today. And for sharing your insight, your talent, your abilities. I just really appreciate it. And am so excited
You're sweet.
to
Yeah.
connect with you
And I
today.
am too. No, I feel like I made a new friend and a new
Exactly.
colleague because I mean, you can't talk about this stuff to very many
You can't.
people, you know? And so now I know who to go to. You're my go-to person when I'm having trouble with a certain thing. I'll, ring you up.
Please do.
That would be great.
I just want to thank Claudia for coming on the show today and sharing her expertise with us. And I can't begin to tell you how amazing it is to find people with similar backgrounds and understandings and point of views to myself. Through this podcast, I've met some amazing people, and Claudia is one of those people as well. The synchronicity involved when you do an interview and you find out that someone could be in Rome, be where you grew up, they could live a few towns over from you, and you can reconnect. And our paths cross each other's all the time. People's paths cross in ways we never really understand. And sometimes I'm a big advocate of understanding things that, like Claudia said, everything happens for a reason. And I believe, for example, having her on the show today has introduced me to an amazing person from Italy who talks spirituality and has the grounding to maintain the balance of being an interpreter, a university professor, an author, and a podcaster, amongst other things. And so if anything you get from this interview today, just know spirituality is everywhere. Psychics aren't just somebody like Miss Cleo from the 90s that you call up on, or Gene Dixon. Most of us are psychic, if you want to use that classical definition of understanding that we can derive facts from beyond our five senses. And I believe in the future, science will eventually catch up, and we'll be able to determine that those of us who have intuition, stronger than others sometimes, but we all have intuition. And one of my main goals with this show is to demystify psychic encounters, demystify so that people don't fear us. You shouldn't fear someone who's intuitive or psychic. You should instead encourage an understanding of it. Because I think if you're able to understand us better and understand what we can do in your life, then you can have the greater ability to benefit from what we can do for you individually. And also, any member of the audience that's listening to this, I can guarantee to you that you have some level of intuition in your life. It's just whether or not you're open enough and expressive enough to explore that side of yourself. I will tell you, explore it, pursue it. It'll help enrichen your life. It'll give you balance and it'll ground you. So keep that in mind. I really appreciate the support of the show that we've received. And once again, check out Claudia's website, her YouTube channel. And until next time, be positive, because when you're positive, anything's possible. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Social Psychic Radio Show. Don't forget to join us for another episode next time. If you enjoyed the show, we'd love for you to subscribe, rate, and give us a review on iTunes. You can also check us out on Facebook, and don't forget to visit the Social Psychic YouTube channel. Until next time, it's a big world out there. Keep an open mind, embrace your paradigms, and know that the universe is always yours to explore.